When I discovered my wife working as a servant in the $10 million mansion I bought for us, she didn't even recognize me as her husband. I stood in the shadows, watching my hands trembling as she served people who treated her like furniture. I nearly fainted when I realized who was behind this. But I said nothing. I only made the first call that would begin the plan to punish the very person I trusted most. My house was full of strangers celebrating some new chapter that involved my son talking about me in the past tense. The furniture was different. Brooke was playing Lady of the Manor, and Sarah was nowhere to be found. Every instinct I'd honed over 28 years screamed at me. Danger. Threat. Wrong. But I couldn't storm in there. Not yet. Not without understanding what I was walking into. I'd been gone 6 months. My house was full of strangers. My son was hosting a party I knew nothing about. And somewhere in that crowd, I knew Sarah was supposed to be. But where was my wife? Beating her. That's false imprisonment. Elder abuse. Assault. Dad, His voice cracked. Then what was it supposed to be? The breakdown Tyler's legs gave out. He sat hard on the step, head in hands, breathing in short gasps. I thought... He choked. She said Sarah was sick. Dementia. That the guardianship was to protect her. And the death certificate. She said you'd want it that way. Barely audible. That you'd told her if anything happened overseas to make it quick. That you didn't want Sarah suffering through investigations. Brilliant. Brooke had weaponized my own pragmatism. And the money. She said we'd put it in a trust, for Sarah's care. For Emma. His face was wet. That you'd want family taken care of. Do you believe that now? Silence. I crouched close. Tyler, I've been watching 2 days. I've seen everything. Brooke beating Sarah, threatening to kill her, talking about previous victims, planning to disappear with the money when the house closes. His expression shattered. Her real name is Brianna Caldwell, I said. She's done this 5 times in 5 cities. Finds vulnerable men, gets pregnant, isolates them, steals everything, then vanishes. No. No conviction. Margaret Anderson, Victoria Lang, Evelyn Ross, Robert Martinez. I recited the names. Professional predator. You're victim number 5. Tyler's breathing turned ragged, body trembling. Emma is a tool. Brianna weaponized that baby against you. Every time you questioned her, she reminded you Emma needed a father. That if you went to prison, Emma would end up in foster care. He was sobbing now. She played you Tyler. Found your grief over Lisa. Manufactured debt. Isolated you from friends. Made you dependent. Then made you complicit so you couldn't escape. I didn't know, gasping. I swear, Dad, I didn't know. The offer, I let him cry. 30 seconds. Let truth sink in. Tyler, look at me. Red, swollen eyes raised. You have 1 chance. Right now. Walk away from this. Testify against Brooke. Tell the DA everything, how she manipulated you, forged documents, planned Sarah's murder. She'll kill me. She won't get the chance. I've coordinated with police lawyers, investigators. Tomorrow morning they're moving in. Brooke will be in custody by noon. His eyes widened. Tomorrow. Unless you warn her. I held his gaze. If you go upstairs and tell Brooke I'm here, this ends differently. You go down with her. Conspiracy to murder. 25 to 30 years. Emma grows up visiting you in prison. He shook his head frantically. I won't. I won't tell her. Then you're with me. Long pause. What do I do? The choice. I stood offering my hand. Go upstairs. Act normal. If Brooke wakes, tell her you heard noise, but it was nothing. Tomorrow 9 a.m., Detective Rachel Morrison knocks on that door. You answer. You let her in. You tell her everything. And Sarah. Stays here until Morrison arrives. If we move her tonight, Brooke knows something's wrong. She runs. We lose her. Tyler stared at my hand, at the wine cellar, back at me. She's in there right now, he whispered. Isn't she? Yes. Oh God. What have I done? You got manipulated by a professional, but you're choosing to fix it. That matters. He took my hand. I pulled him up. 9 a.m., Detective Morrison. You let her in. You confess everything. You protect Emma from her mother. He nodded, shaking. Okay. Good. I stepped back. I'll be watching. Don't make me regret this chance. He climbed slowly, gripping the railing. At the top, he paused. Dad. Yeah. I'm sorry. For all of it. I know. Now go. He disappeared. Footsteps on stairs. Bedroom door closing. Silence. I stood alone, staring at the wine cellar door. Behind it, Sarah waited. My wife. The woman I'd failed to protect for 6 months. Every instinct screamed to open that door now. Pull her out. End this tonight. But Tyler was fragile. If Brooke sensed something wrong, she'd bolt. We'd lose our chance. Without Tyler's testimony, the case collapsed. I had to reach my son before it was too late, before Brooke destroyed him completely. Tyler was crying upstairs, body trembling, and I knew I had one chance to save him. Tyler slid down the wine cellar wall until he sat on concrete knees, drawn up, head in hands. His whole body shook, not from the 55-degree air, but from 6 months of lies crashing down at once. I didn't want this, he whispered. I swear, Dad, I didn't want any of this. I stayed against the opposite wall, watching my son fall apart. Every instinct screamed to comfort him, but Tyler wasn't 8 anymore. This wasn't a scraped knee. This was conspiracy to commit murder. Tell me how it started, I said quietly. The manufactured crisis, the debt. Tyler lifted his head, eyes red. $47,000 in medical bills. Emma's premature birth 6 weeks early. NICU specialist's respiratory therapy. His voice cracked. Brooke showed me invoices. Hospital letterhead. Itemized charges. It looked real. Emma was full term, I said. Healthy. I checked the actual records. His face crumpled. I didn't know. I was working 60 hours a week, exhausted, trying to be the father I thought I should be. When Brooke said we were drowning in debt, I believed her. He wiped his face. She said you'd told her before you left if anything happened overseas, file the death certificate immediately. Claim the insurance. That you'd want family taken care of. I closed my eyes. Brooke had weaponized my own military pragmatism, years of contingency planning, twisted into permission for fraud. And I signed everything. Tyler continued. Death certificate, guardianship papers, insurance claim. She said it was just paperwork, that we'd put the money in a trust for Sarah. He laughed bitterly. Every time I doubted, she reminded me about Emma, that if I confessed I'd go to prison, Emma would lose both parents. Foster care. His hands clenched. She used my daughter against me. The discovery. You said you found something, I prompted. 3 months ago. Tyler straightened. Her laptop, the one she keeps locked in the office closet. She left it open one night after a call. I saw a folder labeled Projects. He swallowed. I waited until she slept, snuck down and opened it. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands, tapped the screen. I took screenshots, sent them to a cloud account she doesn't know about. I took the phone. The screen showed projects greater than SF_2019, greater than Margaret_A inside photographs, financial records, handwritten notes in Brooke's script. 3 folders, Tyler said. 3 families, 3 people like us. The victims, Margaret Anderson, San Francisco, 2019, 68-year-old widow. Son David, 24. Melissa Hart, one of Brooke's aliases, had met them through a grief support group. The pattern was identical: pregnancy, marriage, fake Alzheimer's diagnosis, guardianship to David, systematic account draining, $800,000 gone according to Brooke's spreadsheet. Margaret died 6 months later. Death certificate said natural causes. But David's witness statement filed in the folder told a different story, healthy and sharp until Melissa arrived. Then sudden decline, isolation, death. "She killed her," Tyler whispered. I opened the second folder without answering. Victoria Lang, Portland, 2021, 71. Daughter Rachel, 29. Christine Wade, another alias at a yoga studio. Same pattern. Fake dementia, guardianship. 1.2 million plus a $900,000 house. Victoria was alive, confined to memory care. Rachel had filed charges. Then Christine Wade vanished. The third folder froze my blood. Evelyn Ross, Seattle, 2022, 73. Son Nathan, 31. Jennifer Blake met Nathan at a Marina District bar. Same playbook. $950,000. Evelyn involuntarily committed to psychiatric care. Jennifer disappeared. 4 families, I said, looking up. Margaret, Victoria, Evelyn, and Sarah. Tyler's face was wet. When I found those files 3 months ago, I realized Brooke had done this before. That I wasn't special. That Sarah wasn't sick. That everything was a lie. "Why didn't you go to the police?" He scrolled to another file, contingency_plan.docx. I read in silence. Every line made the basement colder. If Tyler reported her, Brooke had planted evidence making him the mastermind. Forged emails from Tyler's accounts detailing insurance fraud. A burner phone in his name with threatening texts to Sarah. A safety deposit box key with Tyler's fingerprints containing cash and fake documents. "She set me up from the beginning," Tyler said. "If I turned on her, I'd go down first, harder." The offer, I handed back the phone and sat across from him, father and son 3 feet apart. "Tyler, listen carefully. Everything you showed me, it's exactly what we need. Those files prove pattern premeditation. They prove Brooke Brianna Caldwell is a serial predator." His eyes widened. I watched from the darkness as the party continued. Then I saw her. Sarah, my wife. But she wasn't a guest at this celebration. She was serving it. She emerged from the French doors, carrying a silver tray loaded with champagne flutes, her head down, her movements careful and deliberate. At first, I didn't recognize her. The woman moving through the crowd looked 20 years older than the 42-year-old I'd kissed goodbye 6 months ago. Her hair, once a rich chestnut brown, had gone nearly white at the temples. Her face was gaunt cheekbones, sharp beneath skin that looked paper-thin in the string lights. She'd lost weight, not the healthy kind, but the kind that comes from not eating enough, from stress eating away at you from the inside out. And she was wearing a uniform. Black dress, white apron, white collar. The kind of thing you'd see in some period drama about English manor houses. Except this wasn't a costume party. This was real. Brianna. Her real name. 29, from Reno. 3 prior arrests for fraud and elder exploitation. Charges dropped when victims refused to testify. I leaned forward. "This time we have you. We have surveillance footage, audio recordings, those files, and 3 families who'll testify once they know they're not alone. She'll destroy me. Not if you cooperate fully. Tomorrow I'm meeting Detective Rachel Morrison, San Diego PD Elder Abuse Unit. You'll send me every file from that laptop, then write a complete statement detailing how Brooke manipulated you forged documents, planned Sarah's murder. And then, We coordinate with police. Clean arrest. Overwhelming evidence. The DA wants Brooke, she's the architect. You're a witness, a victim coerced into signing papers. Tyler shook his head. I still signed them, under duress. Your lawyer will argue emotional manipulation threats against Emma. You'll get reduced sentence. Probably probation if you cooperate fully. He stared. After everything I did, you're my son. Brooke turned you into a weapon against your family, but you're still my son. I'm not losing you to her. Tyler broke down. I crossed the space and pulled him into my arms, the hug I'd wanted to give since stepping from shadows. He clung to me like I was the only thing keeping him afloat. I'm sorry, he sobbed. For everything. For Sarah. For being weak. You're not weak. You're human. And you're going to make this right. I pulled back, gripping his shoulders. Send me those files tonight. Everything. Tomorrow we go to war. He nodded, wiping his face. Okay. Tyler started forwarding screenshots. My phone buzzed repeatedly. Margaret Anderson, Victoria Lang, Evelyn Ross, financial records, photos, Brooke's notes planning each phase. 3 families before ours. 3 people destroyed. But this time, Brianna Caldwell had chosen wrong. This time we had evidence. And this time she wouldn't escape. Marcus's son just handed him everything. The files, the evidence, and the fate of 3 families destroyed before theirs. Here's my question for you, should Marcus trust his son? Leave a comment with your honest judgment. Can someone who signed those papers truly be redeemed? Quick note, this story contains fictional elements. If this doesn't suit you, feel free to stop here. Next morning, Marcus had one final meeting. Detective Rachel Morrison's office was small gray walls, metal desk corkboard covered in case photos. She was late 30s, dark hair, pulled back sharp eyes, assessing me the moment I entered. On her desk, my flash drive with 48 hours of surveillance. Mr. Webb, or should I say the dead man from April? She gestured to a chair. I've reviewed your evidence. Video of physical abuse. Audio of conspiracy to murder. Forged documents. She looked up. Most comprehensive elder abuse case I've seen in 15 years. I pulled out my phone, showed Tyler's files. Brianna Caldwell, her real name, did this 4 times before. Margaret Anderson in San Francisco, Victoria Lang in Portland, Evelyn Ross in Seattle. Same pattern. 4 million stolen across 3 victims. Morrison scrolled through the files, expression hardening. And we have documentation. Financial records, photos, notes detailing each scheme. My son found them on her laptop. Your son who signed the fraudulent documents. Under duress, emotional manipulation, threats against his daughter. I held her gaze. He's cooperating fully. He'll testify. She set down the phone. Okay, let's take her down. The plan. Morrison pulled up a map of my house. Walk me through it. I traced the layout. Front entrance, living room, kitchen. Upstairs, bedrooms. Basement, wine cellar where Sarah's held. Electronic lock code 7382. Here's what we do, Morrison said. You go in as Robert Hayes, real estate investor. Tyler plays along selling the house. Brianna gives the tour. When you signal, we move in. Signal. She smiled grimly. Your choice. Something natural. The house has good bones. Perfect. You say that we're through the door in 30 seconds. Noon, the approach. I adjusted the wire beneath my shirt. Black Lexus at the curb. Fake business cards in my pocket. Robert Hayes, Hayes Capital Investments. 2 blocks away, Morrison's team waited. 12 p.m. exactly. I walked up my driveway and rang the doorbell. Tyler opened the door, face pale but composed. Mr. Hayes, right on time? I stepped inside. White leather furniture, minimalist decor. No trace of the home Sarah and I built. Footsteps on stairs. Brooke Morrison, Brianna Caldwell, descended in navy dress and heels, professional smile in place. She had no idea the man she declared dead stood 10 feet away, behind glasses and a different hairstyle. Mr. Hayes. She extended her hand. Thank you for coming. I shook it. When Tyler mentioned this property, I had to see it. 14 million originally, but we're motivated. 10 million, and it's yours. Mediterranean architecture, ocean views, smart home integration. I let her talk. Watched her performance, grieving widow selling late husband's home. Every word a calculated lie. Could I see the basement? I asked. I'm interested in wine storage. A flicker crossed her face. Gone instantly. Of course. This way. The wine cellar Brooke led me through the kitchen to the basement door. Down the stairs. Temperature dropped to 55 degrees. The air Sarah had breathed for 6 months. Climate-controlled storage, Brooke said at the wine cellar door. Holds 300 bottles. May I see inside? Another flicker. I don't have the code. Tyler, I turned. Do you know it? His voice was flat. 7382. Brooke's smile tightened. Tyler, I don't think. But he was entering the code. The lock beeped. Door swung open. 10 by 12 feet. Concrete walls, thin mattress, bucket in corner, and Sarah gaunt, bruised, exhausted, curled on the mattress in the same black dress from 4 days ago. She looked up as light flooded in. Recognized me despite the glasses. I removed them slowly. Met Brooke's eyes. Hello, Brianna. Her face went white. I think this house has very good bones. The arrest. The front door exploded inward. Boots thundered. San Diego police hands up. Brooke spun toward stairs, but Morrison blocked the exit weapon drawn. Brianna Caldwell, you're under arrest for elder abuse fraud, false imprisonment, conspiracy to murder. I don't know what... Save it. Morrison snapped handcuffs on. You have the right to remain silent. I stepped into the wine cellar. Sarah tried to stand, legs shaking. I caught her. Marcus! Her voice rasped. You're alive. I'm here. You're safe now. Paramedics pushed past with a gurney checking Sarah's vitals. Morrison read Brooke her rights. Tyler stood on stairs holding Emma, tears streaming. Brooke's voice turned shrill. This is insane. Marcus Webb is a con artist. We have 48 hours of footage, Morrison interrupted. Audio recordings of you planning murder. Financial records linking you to 3 previous victims. Your laptop files. She smiled coldly. You're done. They dragged her upstairs, still screaming about lawyers. Sarah's fingers dug into my shirt. 6 months. I thought no one was coming. I came back, I said. I came back for you. Paramedics loaded her onto the gurney. I followed them up past Tyler, whispering, I'm sorry, out into sunlight. By 2 p.m., Brianna Caldwell sat handcuffed in a patrol car. Sarah was wrapped in blankets with EMTs. Tyler held Emma on the lawn, both crying. I stood at my threshold watching justice unfold. Finally, it was over. 6 weeks after Brianna's arrest, I sat in the San Diego Superior Court, holding Sarah's hand. She'd gained 7 pounds since the rescue, and the bruises had faded, but the courtroom still felt heavy with everything we'd survived. Judge Catherine Reynolds called the courtroom to order. Brianna Caldwell sat in orange scrubs at the defense table facing charges of elder abuse fraud, false imprisonment, and conspiracy to murder. David Anderson took the stand, first Margaret's son from San Francisco. His voice shook as he described how Melissa Hart had stolen $800,000 and his mother died 6 months later. Rachel Lang followed, testifying about Christine Wade taking $1.2 million from her mother Victoria in Portland. Nathan Ross was last recounting how Jennifer Blake had vanished with $950,000 from his mother Evelyn in Seattle. 3 families, same predator, different names. Sarah was dressed like a servant in her own home. I gripped the fence so hard the wrought iron bit into my palms. She moved through the crowd with practiced efficiency, offering champagne to guests who barely acknowledged her existence. A woman in a red cocktail dress plucked a glass from the tray without looking at Sarah's face. A man in an expensive suit took 2 glasses, didn't say thank you, just waved her away like she was furniture. Sarah's limp was worse than I remembered. She'd always had a slight issue with her right knee, an old injury from her teaching days. But now she was favoring that leg heavily, each step clearly causing pain. "Excuse me?" a blonde woman called out, snapping her fingers at Sarah. "More champagne over here." Sarah immediately changed direction, moving toward the woman with her head still down. As she got closer, I could see bruising on her left wrist, dark purple marks that looked like fingerprints. When prosecutors played the recording of Brooke saying, "This isn't my first time, I know how to make problems disappear," Brianna jumped up screaming that it was fake until bailiffs restrained her. After 90 minutes of deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict guilty on all counts. 2 weeks later, Judge Reynolds sentenced Brianna to 28 years in state prison with no possibility of parole for 20 years. Tyler received 5 years probation for his cooperation. Sarah squeezed my hand as the gavel fell. "It's really over. It's really over." 1 year later, I woke to the sound of waves in our new Coronado home. We'd sold the La Jolla mansion 6 months earlier, too many ghosts, and bought something smaller with an ocean view. 3 bedrooms, weathered deck, perfect for rebuilding our lives. Sarah had gained back her weight and healed her knee through months of physical therapy. Every Tuesday evening, she taught watercolor classes at the community center, painting again for the first time in over a year. Tyler came every Sunday for dinner. He'd completed his first year of probation without incident, worked as a junior developer in Carlsbad, and had even paid back every dollar of the fabricated debt that Brooke had invented. His daughter Emma, now 2 years old, ran through our house calling Sarah Gamma and me Poppy. After Brianna's parental rights were terminated, Tyler had primary custody with our full support. That morning, Sarah turned to me at breakfast. "The insurance money Brianna tried to steal, we don't need it. Do we?" I smiled, thinking about the secret I hadn't told her yet. Back in 2013, I'd invested $20,000 in something called Bitcoin when it was trading at $65 per coin. I'd forgotten about it for years until I checked the encrypted wallet last month. $185 million. Tyler didn't know. Brianna had never known. "No," I said honestly. "We don't need any of it." "Then let's give it away. Set up a fund for elder abuse victims, help people like Margaret and Victoria and Evelyn." I pulled her close. "I'll call the lawyers tomorrow." That evening, Tyler brought Emma to the beach. We watched the 2-year-old chase waves and shriek with delight, while Sarah sketched in her notebook. Tyler smiled a real smile, the haunted look finally gone from his eyes. "Thank you for not giving up on me," he said quietly. "You're my son. I'll never give up." Emma ran back covered in sand and climbed into Sarah's lap. My wife wrapped her arms around our granddaughter and rested her head on my shoulder as the sun painted the ocean gold and orange. I'd fought for this. Not the house or the money, but this family love home. Brianna Caldwell had tried to take it all, but she'd chosen the wrong family. We were still standing still together, still fighting for each other, and we always would be. Looking back, this man realized how close he came to losing everything that mattered. Not the house, not the money, those were just things. He almost lost his wife and son to a predator who exploited grief and loneliness. The lesson is clear: don't wait months in silence before checking on the people you love. Don't assume everything is fine just because you're working hard to provide. The greatest wealth isn't in a bank account or mansion. It's in the people holding your hand, calling you family. Predators target isolation. They find people who are alone, grieving, disconnected. The son was vulnerable because his father had left him alone after his mother died. The wife was vulnerable because her husband had gone overseas for months without contact. This isn't just about financial fraud or elder abuse. It's about presence. Be present in your family's life. Ask questions. Notice changes. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. When facing impossible situations, when evil seems victorious and darkness surrounds you, remember that God sees what's hidden. He heard the prayers in that cellar. He guided this man home at the right moment. Justice isn't always immediate, but it is certain. Protect the vulnerable. Stand up for those who can't fight. Never give up on the people you love. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. Share your thoughts below. What would you do in such a difficult situation? Your perspective is very important to me. If this story touched you, please share it with those who need to hear it. Note: this video contains fictional elements created to raise awareness and encourage reflection. If this style doesn't suit your preferences, feel free to explore other stories that fit better. Thank you for being here. My jaw clenched so tight I thought my teeth might crack. The blonde woman took a glass, examined it, then frowned. This one has lipstick on the rim. Are you people even washing these properly? I'm sorry, ma'am, Sarah said quietly. Her voice was hoarse, like she hadn't used it much recently. I'll get you a fresh one immediately. Ma'am. Sarah was calling guests in her own home, ma'am. I'd spent 8 years in this work, 20 before that as a Marine. I'd been shot at, blown up, threatened more times than I could count. But nothing had ever made me want to storm a position like I did right now. But I couldn't. Not yet. Near the outdoor kitchen, Brooke was holding court with a group of older couples playing the gracious hostess. She laughed at something someone said touched her pearls. Were those Sarah's pearls, the ones I'd bought her for our first anniversary, and gestured elegantly with a champagne flute. We're so grateful for all the support during this difficult time, Brooke was saying. Losing Marcus so suddenly, having to take over the household. It's been overwhelming, but we're managing. The staff has been very helpful. Staff. She was calling Sarah staff. I watched as Sarah finished her circuit and headed back toward the house. But before she could reach the door, Tyler intercepted her. My son looked at Sarah with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not quite contempt, but not kindness either. Something uncomfortable. Something guilty. Make sure you clear the plates from the living room, he said, not meeting her eyes. And Brooke wants the guest bathroom restocked. Yes, Tyler, Sarah said softly. Not yes, dear, or even just okay. Formal, distant, like an employee addressing a boss. Tyler walked away quickly, like he couldn't stand to be near her. Inside the house, through the massive windows, I watched Sarah move from room to room, collecting plates, refilling champagne, wiping down surfaces. Always moving, never stopping, never sitting. A crash made my head snap back to the patio. Sarah had stumbled that bad knee again and dropped her tray. Champagne flutes shattered across the stone patio glass, exploding in a spray that caught the light. The entire party fell silent. Sarah immediately dropped to her knees, trying to gather the broken glass with her bare hands. I'm so sorry, she was saying, her voice shaking. I'm so sorry, I'll clean this up right away. Brooke descended on her like a hawk on a mouse. Are you kidding me right now? Brooke's voice was ice cold, but loud enough for everyone to hear. Do you have any idea how much those glasses cost? I'm sorry. Sarah whispered, blood now dripping from her fingers where the glass had cut her. Please, I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't pay for Waterford Crystal, does it? Brooke grabbed Sarah's arm right where those bruises were and hauled her to her feet. Get this cleaned up, now. And you're not eating tonight. Maybe hunger will teach you to be more careful. No one said anything. 43 guests stood there watching a woman bleed and be humiliated, and not one of them spoke up. Not one except Tyler, who took a half-step forward, his face conflicted. But Brooke shot him a look, sharp warning, and he stopped. Just stopped, and looked away. My son looked away while his stepmother bled on the patio stones. Sarah limped back into the house, cradling her bleeding hand, her shoulders shaking. I could tell she was crying, even though she was trying desperately to hide it. The party resumed like nothing had happened. Someone turned up the music. Within 30 seconds, it was like Sarah had never been there at all. I stood in the darkness, every muscle in my body screaming at me to move, to act, to end this right now. 8 years of contractor work, 20 before that as a Marine, and I'd never felt rage like this. Pure, white-hot, barely controlled fury. But I couldn't move yet. Because this wasn't random. This wasn't a crime of opportunity. This was systematic, organized, established. Sarah had been turned into a servant in her own home. The woman I loved, the woman I'd married 2 years ago in a ceremony on the beach just 3 miles from here, was being treated like property. Brooke had done this. Somehow, in the 6 months I'd been gone, Brooke had taken everything from Sarah. Her home, her dignity, her freedom. And Tyler had let it happen. I needed to understand what had happened before I could save her. I needed to know how deep this went, who was involved, what leverage they had. Because if I stormed in there now without a plan, without evidence, they might hurt her worse. No. I needed to be smart, strategic. I needed to do what I'd been trained to do. Gather intelligence, assess the situation, plan the perfect strike. Sarah disappeared into the house, probably to bandage her hand in secret and get back to work before Brooke found something else to punish her for. And I melted back into the shadows, already making plans. 2 days. I'd give myself 2 days to understand everything, to document everything, to build a case so airtight that no one could escape. And then I'd end this. All of it. By 11 p.m., the last guest had left. I watched from my rental car 3 houses down as the outdoor lights went dark, the catering vans pulled away, and the $10 million Mediterranean mansion, my mansion, fell silent. I waited another 20 minutes. Upstairs, bedroom lights clicked off one by one. Tyler and Brooke's room went dark at 11:17 p.m. I gave it 10 more minutes to be safe. Then I moved. The side entrance, the mudroom door I'd installed during our security upgrade 2 years ago, was exactly where I'd left it. The lock responded to my spare key like no time had passed. I slipped inside, closed the door silently behind me, and stood in the darkness listening. Upstairs, nothing. No footsteps, no voices, no sounds of anyone awake. Down the hall, I could hear Sarah's labored breathing from the wine cellar. They'd locked her in the basement. My wife was imprisoned 10 feet below me, and I couldn't reach her yet. Not without a plan. Thank you for being here. Quick question, who do you think was behind this? Drop your guess below. Please note this is a fictional narrative exploring meaningful themes. Any resemblance to real people or places is coincidental. Let me show you what happened next. I moved through the kitchen, my kitchen where Sarah and I had cooked Sunday dinners and laughed over burnt attempts at soufflés, and headed toward my old office. The door was unlocked. Why wouldn't it be? As far as Tyler and Brooke knew, Marcus Webb was dead and buried in some unmarked grave in the Middle East. I clicked on my tactical flashlight, keeping the beam low. The office had been completely transformed. My desk, the solid oak piece Sarah had given me for my birthday, was still there, but everything else was different. My books were gone. My photographs were gone. The Marine Corps flag I'd hung behind the desk had been replaced with some abstract painting that probably cost more than my first car. On the desk sat a leather portfolio embossed with Tyler's initials. I opened it. The first document stopped me cold. Certificate of Death. State of California, County of San Diego. Name Marcus James Webb. Date of death April 15, 2024. Age at death 50 years. Cause of death hostile action, combat-related injury. Certifying physician Dr. James Patterson, MD. Registration number CA-20204-04-087456. My own death certificate. Signed, sealed, filed with the county recorder. According to the state of California, I'd been dead for 5 months. I photographed it with my phone, then kept reading. The next document was worse. Life Insurance Claim Form, Pacific States. Life Insurance Company, policy number PSL-4782-9301- Webb. Marcus James Webb. Deceased beneficiary Tyler Marcus Webb. Son claim amount $22 million. Date filed April 22, 2024. Status approved August 30, 2024. Payment disbursed September 5, 2024, $22 million. They'd claimed my life insurance and gotten paid just 3 days ago. I kept my breathing steady through sheer force of will. 28 years of training. Don't react. Document everything. The third document made my hands shake. Property Transfer Agreement, County Recorder's Office. San Diego County Property Address, 3847 Pacific Beach Drive, La Jolla, California 92037. Previous owner Marcus James Webb. Deceased new owner Tyler Marcus Webb. Transfer date May 10, 2024. Property value $10 million. Transfer type inheritance. Death of original owner. My house. My $10 million house that Sarah and I had bought together. Transferred to Tyler based on my fake death. I photographed everything with methodical precision. Every page, every signature, every fraudulent claim. But the last document in the portfolio broke something inside me. Medical records, confidential patient Sarah Elizabeth Webb, date of birth June 3, 1982. Diagnosis, severe cognitive decline, early onset dementia. Attending physician Dr. James Patterson, MD. Recommendation, patient is legally incompetent to manage own affairs. Immediate guardianship recommended. Guardian appointed Tyler Marcus Webb, date April 30, 2024. They declared Sarah mentally incompetent. The same doctor who'd signed my death certificate had signed a diagnosis declaring my wife a woman with a master's degree in art history who could recite poetry in 3 languages, unable to manage her own life. And Tyler had been appointed her legal guardian. That's how they'd done it. That's how they'd taken everything. Declare the husband dead. Declare the wife incompetent. Transfer everything to the son, and no one questions it because it all looks legal. I photographed every page, my phone camera capturing date stamps, signatures, official seals. Then I noticed something else in the portfolio, a handwritten note on personal stationery. Everything is proceeding as planned. The house closes escrow in 3 weeks. Once we have the cash, we'll move her to the facility we discussed. The one in Arizona where no one will ask questions. After 6 months, we can report that she wandered off and wasn't found. Natural causes, just like the others. Stay strong. This is almost over. Just like the others. Brooke, or whatever her real name was, had done this before. I photographed the note, put everything back exactly as I'd found it, and backed out of the office. My mind was racing, cataloging evidence, building a case, planning the next 48 hours down to the minute. They'd declared me dead, claimed $22 million in life insurance, stolen my $10 million house, imprisoned my wife, and they were planning to kill her. But they'd made one critical mistake. I wasn't dead. And now I knew exactly what they'd done, how they'd done it, and what they were planning to do next. I slipped back out through the mudroom door at 11:47 p.m. and melted into the night. Tomorrow I'd start building the case. I'd hire the investigators, the lawyers, the surveillance experts. I'd document every crime, every lie, every fraud, and then I'd destroy them. Legally, systematically, and absolutely. They thought Marcus Webb was dead. They were about to learn how wrong they were. I couldn't storm in and confront them. Not yet. 20 years as a Marine and 8 years as a contractor had taught me one thing. Gather intelligence first, strike second. I needed evidence. I needed a plan. And it needed to be perfect. The Marriott on La Jolla Shores Boulevard wasn't fancy, but it was 3 miles from my house and paid for in cash. No credit cards, no trail. I'd checked in under a name I'd used on contracts overseas, Robert Hayes, complete with a driver's license that would pass any casual inspection. Old habits, good habits. I sat on the bed with my laptop open, a notepad beside me, and photographs of every document I'd found displayed on the screen. The death certificate, the insurance claim, the property transfer, Sarah's fake medical diagnosis. It was nearly midnight now. The adrenaline from breaking into my own house was wearing off, replaced by cold, tactical thinking. 6 months. They'd had 6 months to build this entire system, while I was on communication blackout in the Middle East. 6 months to declare me gone, claim my money, steal my house, and turn my wife into a prisoner. If I walked in there now, what would happen? I played it out tactically, the way I'd been trained. Storm the house. Reveal myself. Demand answers. Tyler would panic. Brooke would call the police. They'd show them the death certificate, claim I was an imposter, maybe even dangerous. Sarah's medical diagnosis would make her testimony unreliable. By the time I proved who I was, they'd have lawyers, they'd have had time to destroy evidence, they'd have had time to hurt Sarah worse. Or they'd run. $22 million could buy a lot of distance. New identities, new country. Gone before I could stop them. No. Rushing in would be the worst possible move. I needed to be smarter than that. More patient, more strategic. I pulled out my notepad and started writing. Objective: free Sarah. Prosecute Tyler and Brooke. Recover assets. Timeline: 2 days maximum. Why 2 days? Because every day Sarah spent locked in that basement was another day she suffered. Because waiting longer meant more opportunities for them to hurt her, to move money to cover their tracks. 2 days to document everything. 2 days to build a case so airtight that no lawyer, no judge, no jury could ignore it. Phase 1. Technical surveillance. I needed eyes and ears inside that house. Video evidence, audio recordings, time-stamped proof of everything they were doing to Sarah. Ray Brooks, former Army Signal Corps, now running a private security company in San Diego. We'd worked 2 contracts together in Afghanistan. I pulled out my phone and composed a text using a burner app. Ray, Marcus Webb, need your expertise. Urgent. We'll pay triple your usual rate. Can you meet tomorrow morning, 0800? The response came back in under 2 minutes. Brother, I heard you were gone. Good to hear different. 0800, we're coffee shop on Prospect Street. The one with the ocean view, roger that. 1 ally secured. Ray would get me cameras, microphones, maybe even remote monitoring. By tomorrow afternoon, I'd be watching everything happening in my house. Phase 2. Legal framework. Evidence wouldn't matter without legal backing. I needed a lawyer who specialized in exactly this kind of situation. I opened my laptop and started searching. San Diego elder law attorneys. One name kept appearing: Daniel Foster, 62 years old, former prosecutor, now focused entirely on protecting vulnerable adults from exploitation. I composed an email through an encrypted service. Mr. Foster, I need immediate consultation regarding elder abuse, financial exploitation, and fraudulent guardianship. My wife has been imprisoned and exploited while I was overseas. I have documentation. Can you meet tomorrow at 1400? We'll pay consultation fee in advance. This is urgent. I stood in the shadows of my own driveway, watching strangers celebrate in my backyard. After 6 months of silence in the Middle East, I'd finally come home. But the home I returned to wasn't the one I'd left behind. The flight from Dubai to San Diego had taken 14 hours. I'd landed at 4 p.m., cleared customs by 5, grabbed my single duffel bag, and headed straight to the address I'd been dreaming about for 6 months. By 6:30, I was standing 3 houses down from my own property, watching my life fall apart in real time. Her voice had been warm that February morning, standing in our kitchen with sunlight streaming through the windows. 6 months will fly by, Sarah had said, kissing my cheek. Before you know it, you'll be back. I'd believed her. God help me, I'd believed every word. Now it was September, and I was hidden behind a neighbor's hedge like some kind of criminal. Marcus Webb. I attached photographs of the death certificate and Sarah's fake diagnosis. I hit send, knowing I wouldn't get a response until morning. But if Foster was as good as his reputation suggested, that email would be the first thing he read when he got to his office tomorrow. Phase 3 investigation. I needed someone to dig into Brooke's background, because instinct told me this wasn't her first time. Private investigators in San Diego, another search. Sofia Torres, former FBI. 15 years in financial crimes. Now private, specializing in fraud and background investigations. Another encrypted email. Ms. Torres, I need comprehensive background investigation on Brooke Morrison, age 29, married to Tyler Webb. Suspect identity fraud and possible previous victims. Need results within 48 hours. Will pay premium rate for expedited service. Attached photo and basic information. R. Hayes. I used a different name. Operational security. Never put all your eggs in one basket. That email would also wait until morning, but by tomorrow afternoon, I'd hopefully have 3 professionals working on 3 different aspects of this case. Phase 4. Police coordination. Eventually, I'd need law enforcement, but not yet. Not until I had everything documented, all my allies in place, all my evidence collected. I made a note: contact SDPD Elder Abuse Unit, day 2 after evidence collection complete. I leaned back and reviewed my plan. Day 1 tomorrow, September 8th, 0800. Meet Ray Brooks, arrange surveillance equipment, 1000 Ray installs cameras/microphones, posing as service technician, 1400. Meet Daniel Foster. If he confirms, establish legal strategy. Evening, begin monitoring surveillance feeds. Day 2, September 9, continue surveillance and evidence collection. Coordinate with Sofia Torres on background findings. Contact police when ready. Execute confrontation with full documentation 2 days. 48 hours to gather everything I needed. I thought about Sarah locked in that basement right now. Alone. Probably scared. Probably wondering if anyone would ever help her. Every instinct screamed at me to go back there, break down that door, carry her out tonight. But that would be emotion overruling strategy. That would be acting like a frightened husband, instead of thinking like the tactical operator I'd been trained to be. Sarah needed me to be smart, not just angry. She needed me to build a case so solid that Tyler and Brooke would spend decades in prison. She needed me to do this right. I saved my notes, closed my laptop, and lay back on the hotel bed. Outside, I could hear the ocean, the same ocean that was less than a mile from my house. From Sarah, 2 days to document everything. 2 days to build an unbreakable case. 2 days to coordinate with experts who could help me dismantle everything Tyler and Brooke had built. And then justice would come. Not the quick emotional kind. Not storming in and making demands. The absolute kind. The kind that comes with evidence, with witnesses, with legal authority, with no escape route, and no second chances. Tyler and Brooke had spent 6 months building their trap. I'd spend 2 days building mine. And when it closed around them, it would be perfect. The next morning, I made my first call. Ray Brooks answered on the second ring. "Marcus Webb, thought you were gone, brother." His voice was the same gravelly tone I remembered from 3 contracts in Afghanistan. "Good to hear your voice." "Good to be heard," I said. The coffee shop on Prospect Street was nearly empty at 8 a.m. on a Monday. "I need your expertise. Urgently." The text said triple rate. Ray's tone shifted to business. "What are we talking about? Surveillance install? Residential? 10 to 12 cameras, directional microphones? 72-hour recording with live feed? Needs to be invisible, and it needs to happen today." A pause. "That's a big job for same day. What's the property?" "Mine, my house. But the people living there can't know I'm watching." Another pause, longer this time. "You want to explain that? Not over the phone? Can you meet me here in 20 minutes? Prospect Street, the one with the ocean view." "That's the one." "Sultan, be there in 15. Ray arrived in 12 minutes, driving a white Ford Transit van with Brooks Security Solutions printed on the side. He'd changed since Afghanistan, more gray in his beard, a few more pounds, but his eyes were still sharp. We sat at a corner table. I showed him the photographs on my phone. The death certificate, the insurance claim, the property transfer, and shots I'd taken of Sarah locked in the basement. Ray's jaw tightened as he scrolled through them. "Your own son did this. My son and his wife. I need proof. Video, audio, timestamps. Everything they're doing to her. Documented so thoroughly that no lawyer can spin it." Ray handed back my phone. "What's the access situation?" "I checked the house smart home system remotely this morning. $10 million mansion, everything's integrated through one app. There's an AC maintenance appointment scheduled for 10 a.m. today. Company called Cool Breeze Air Conditioning. I called them an hour ago, pretending to be Tyler, rescheduled for next week due to a family emergency. So when you show up at 10 in your van with the right tools, nobody's going to question it." Smart. Ray pulled out a tablet. "Equipment list. Where do you want focus areas?" I pulled out a floor plan I'd sketched at 4 a.m. Kitchen, where Sarah works most of the day. Living room, where Tyler and Brooke spend time. Basement door I need to see when they lock her in. Master bedroom for their private conversations. And the basement itself. Ray studied the floor plan. "Basement's going to be tricky if she's locked down there. I won't be able to access it without raising suspicion. There's a ventilation duct that runs from the main system down to the wine cellar. You can drop a fiber optic camera through it." "Fiber optic. Good." Ray made notes. "Audio. Directional mics in the kitchen, living room, and master bedroom. I need to hear what they say when they think nobody's listening. Recording duration. 72 hours minimum." Ray did some mental math. "Storage requirements for HD video across 12 feeds. I'll set up a cloud-based system with military-grade encryption. You'll access it through a secure portal on your laptop. Perfect. Equipment cost plus installation triple rate. Ray tapped his tablet. 35,000. I pulled out an envelope with 40,000 in cash. Money from an account Tyler didn't know about, one of several I'd set up over 8 years of contracting for emergencies. 40. The extra 5 is for doing it today and keeping quiet about who hired you. Ray pocketed the envelope without counting it. You know me, brother. I don't talk. By 9:30, Ray's van was loaded. Cameras the size of shirt buttons, microphones that looked like screw heads, fiber optic cables thin as human hair, a portable server for processing and streaming. One more thing, I said, as Ray climbed into the driver's seat. When you're in there, observe everything, how they treat her, whether Tyler seems conflicted or committed, whether Brooke's running the show. I need to understand the power dynamic. You think the sun might flip? I don't know yet. That's what I need to find out. Ray nodded slowly. I'll pay attention. And Marcus, if I see them hurting her while I'm in there, you don't intervene. You document. We do this right, they go to prison for decades. You intervene now, you blow the whole operation. It clearly pained him, but Ray nodded. Documented, not intervened. Got it. Call me when you're done. And Ray, thank you. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when that woman's free and those two are in handcuffs. I watched Ray's van pull away, heading toward Pacific Beach Drive, toward my house, toward Sarah. The operation was in motion now. No turning back. I returned to the Marriott, set up my laptop, and waited for Ray's signal. While I waited, I checked my email. 2 responses had come in overnight. The first was from Daniel Foster, the elder law attorney. Mr. Webb, I've reviewed the documents you sent. This is one of the most egregious cases of elder exploitation and financial fraud I've seen in 25 years of practice. I can meet you today at 2 p.m. at my office. We have a lot to discuss. Daniel Foster. The second was from Sophia Torres, the private investigator. Mr. Hayes. The name Brooke Morrison flagged multiple alerts in my database. I need to verify some information before we proceed, but initial findings suggest your instincts about previous victims may be correct. Can you call me at this number? We should talk ASAP. S. Torres. My phone buzzed. A text from Ray. I'm in. Tyler let me in, seemed distracted. Brooke's out shopping with the baby. Installing now. System should be online in 90 minutes. The San Diego evening air was warm, 72 degrees, with that signature coastal breeze that always smelled like salt and jasmine. But something felt wrong. Everything felt wrong. My house, our house, the $10 million Mediterranean-style mansion we'd bought 2 years ago in La Jolla, sat there like a beacon of wrongness. Every window blazed with light. Music poured from the backyard, some kind of jazz-pop fusion that Sarah would have hated. And there were cars. Dozens of them. BMWs, Teslas, Mercedes-Benzes, lining both sides of Pacific Beach Drive. Except I hadn't authorized any party. I hadn't authorized anything. I adjusted the duffel bag on my shoulder and moved closer. I'd spent 8 years doing this work. Private military contracting, executive protection in the world's most dangerous places. Before that, 20 years as a Marine. 28 years total of learning to read situations, to assess threats, to never rush in blind. 90 minutes until I'd have eyes and ears in my own house. 90 minutes until I could see exactly what they were doing to Sarah. At 2 p.m., I'd meet with the lawyer who could help me build the legal framework to destroy them. And somewhere between now and then, I'd call Sophia Torres and find out if Brooke had done this before. The pieces were falling into place, camera by camera, ally by ally, evidence by evidence. By noon, Ray would be inside my house installing eyes and ears in every room. The cameras would be in place. Now I needed to know exactly who I was fighting. At 2 p.m., I stood outside a small office building on Prospect Street in La Jolla. The brass plate beside the door read, Torres Investigations, Financial Crimes, and Background Research. Sophia Torres had come highly recommended. Daniel Foster, the elder law attorney I'd contacted via encrypted email that morning, had called her the best financial investigator in Southern California. 15 years with the FBI's white-collar crime division before going private. If anyone could unravel Brooke Morrison's past, it was her. But there was a problem. I was still using the Robert Hayes alias, the hotel reservation, the rental car, even the burner phone I'd used to set up this meeting, all under a fake name. And if I wanted Sophia to dig deep into Brooke's background, I couldn't hide behind that alias anymore. I needed her to know who I really was. I took a breath and walked inside. The office was small but professional. Clean desk, 2 chairs, walls covered with framed certifications and commendations from various law enforcement agencies. Behind the desk sat a woman in her mid-40s with dark hair, pulled back sharp eyes, and the kind of assessing gaze that came from years of interrogating white-collar criminals. Mr. Hayes. She stood, extending her hand. Sophia Torres, please have a seat. I shook her hand, but remained standing. Before we start, I need to tell you something. Robert Hayes isn't my real name. Her expression didn't change, but I saw her posture shift slightly, more alert, more focused. I see. And your real name is Marcus Webb. Her eyes widened, just a fraction, but enough to tell me she recognized the name. Marcus Webb. As in the Marcus Webb who supposedly died in the Middle East last April, the one with the death certificate filed in San Diego County. That would be me. She sat back down, slowly studying my face. You're going to need to explain that. I pulled out my phone and opened the photos I'd taken last night. This is my death certificate, signed by a Dr. James Patterson on April 15th. This is a $22 million life insurance claim filed in my name, paid out to my son Tyler 3 days ago. And this is a property transfer deed moving my $10 million house from me to Tyler based on my supposed death. I handed her the phone. She scrolled through the images, her expression growing harder with each one. The problem, I continued, is that I'm not dead. I was working a private military contract in the Middle East, complete communications blackout for 6 months, for operational security. When I came home 3 days ago, I found out I'd been declared dead. My assets had been stolen, and my wife, Sarah, has been imprisoned in our own home by my son's wife, Brooke Morrison. Sophia looked up from the phone. Imprisoned how? Locked in the wine cellar at night. Forced to work as a servant during the day. Beaten. Starved. My son Tyler is complicit, but I believe he's being manipulated. I met her eyes. I need to know who Brooke Morrison really is, because I don't think that's her real name. Sophia handed back my phone and opened her laptop. You said you're using the Robert Hayes alias to avoid detection. Correct. I'm staying at the Marriott under that name. I don't want Brooke knowing I'm alive until I'm ready to move. Smart. She typed rapidly. Okay, Marcus, I'm going to need proof you are who you say you are. Driver's license, passport, anything with your real identity. I pulled out my military ID, the one document I'd kept from my Marine days, stored in my go bag overseas. She examined it, compared the photo to my face, then nodded. All right. I believe you. She turned her laptop toward me. And I think I can help. Give me everything you know about Brooke Morrison. Physical description, where she's from, how she met your son, anything. I spent the next 10 minutes detailing everything: Brooke's appearance, her claim to be from Portland, how she'd met Tyler at a grief support group 2 years after my first wife, Lisa, died the pregnancy with Emma, the gradual isolation of Tyler from his friends. Sophia took notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. "This fits a pattern I've seen before," she said. "Women, sometimes men, who target vulnerable people after major life trauma. They gain trust, get pregnant, to lock in the relationship, then systematically isolate and exploit their targets." She pulled up a database on her screen. "Let me run a few searches." Her fingers flew across the keyboard. I watched as she cross-referenced databases I didn't even know existed. DMV records, social media archives, court filings, financial records. After 5 minutes, she stopped, turned the laptop toward me. On the screen, a driver's license photo from Nevada. The woman in the picture was unmistakably Brooke. Same face, slightly different hair color, but definitely her. Except the name on the license wasn't Brooke Morrison. It was Brianna Caldwell, age 29, Reno, Nevada. "Brianna Caldwell," Sophia said. 3 prior arrests in California and Nevada. Identity fraud in 2018, forgery in 2019, elder exploitation in 2021. Charges dropped in all 3 cases when victims refused to testify or recanted. She pulled up more files. "I've got 3 open investigations into similar cases in San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle, all involving financial exploitation of widows or widowers through their adult children. Different names used in each case, but facial recognition software suggests the same woman." She looked at me. "Brooke Morrison doesn't exist, but Brianna Caldwell does. And she's done this before." My hands clenched on the armrests. "How many times?" "At least 3 that I can confirm, possibly more." She pulled up another file. "Margaret Anderson, San Francisco, 2019. 800,000 stolen. Victoria Lang, Portland, 2021. 1.2 million. Evelyn Ross, Seattle, 2022. 950,000. She met my eyes. "Your wife Sarah would be victim number 4, and based on the amounts, she's the biggest target yet. 22 million insurance plus 10 million house. 32 million total." "I need everything," I said. "Every case file, every victim, every alias she's used. I need it documented so thoroughly that when I take this to the police, she can't escape." Sophia nodded. "My standard rate is $200 an hour, but for something this urgent with this much evidence..." She paused. "Flat rate. 10,000 for the next 48 hours. I'll pull every file, contact every victim's family, coordinate with law enforcement in other jurisdictions. You'll have a complete report by tomorrow afternoon." I pulled 15,000 in cash from my jacket money I'd withdrawn from a separate account Brooke and Tyler knew nothing about. 15,000. 5 extra for keeping this completely confidential until I'm ready to move. She took the cash without hesitation. "Deal. I'll start immediately." She stood, extending her hand again. "Marcus, I'm going to help you bury her, legally and permanently." I shook her hand. "That's exactly what I need." As I left her office, my phone buzzed. A text from the burner Ray Brooks confirming 10 a.m. installation tomorrow. System will be online by noon. Everything was coming together. Surveillance investigation legal framework. Brianna Caldwell had no idea what was coming, but she was about to find out. At 4 p.m., I sat across from Daniel Foster, the best elder abuse attorney in California. His office walls were covered with framed newspaper articles. Cases won, predators, imprisoned families restored. I needed him on my side. The office was in La Jolla Ocean View, through floor-to-ceiling windows. Daniel Foster was 58, gray hair, sharp blue eyes, behind wire-rimmed glasses. He wore a navy suit, and his handshake was firm, no nonsense. This was a man who'd spent decades in courtrooms. "Mr. Webb." He gestured to a leather chair. "I've been reviewing the documents you sent. This is one of the most egregious cases of elder exploitation I've seen in 25 years. He had my email open the death certificate, the insurance claim, Sarah's fake diagnosis, and the photos of her locked in the basement. How long has your wife been held like this?" 6 months. Since April, when Tyler filed the death certificate. Daniel made notes on a legal pad. And right now, every instinct I'd developed over nearly 3 decades was screaming that something was very, very wrong. The last 6 months had been different from my usual contracts. Complete communication blackout for operational security. No emails, no calls, no texts. Not even emergency contact unless someone literally died. I'd done dozens of contracts over the past 8 years, but this was the first time I'd gone dark for this long. The money had been good, $50,000 a month for 6 months of executive protection work. Worth the sacrifice. Or so I'd thought. Through the wrought iron gate, I could see the backyard clearly. String lights crisscrossed overhead, casting everything in warm, golden light. A bartender worked behind a temporary bar setup near the pool. 30, maybe 40 guests mingled around, champagne glasses in hand, dressed in cocktail attire like this was some kind of celebration. But celebrating what? Then I saw him. "Tyler. My son. And you've been overseas on a military contract, with complete communication blackout, private contractor, executive protection in the Middle East. They knew I'd be unreachable. They planned this around your absence." Daniel pulled up California penal codes on his screen. "Let's talk about what we're looking at legally." He turned the screen toward me. "First, elder abuse under Penal Code 368. Your wife is 42, but the statute applies to dependent adults unable to protect themselves. The fake diagnosis makes her a dependent adult under the law. Physical abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, all covered. 4 to 7 years on this alone. What else? Financial exploitation. 22 million in life insurance and a $10 million house stolen using fraudulent documents. Grand theft insurance fraud forgery. 5 to 10 years. Daniel pulled up another document. False imprisonment under Penal Code 236. They're physically restraining her, locking her in the basement. 3 years minimum. And the fake death certificate. Identity theft fraud conspiracy. The doctor who signed it, Dr. James Patterson, he's complicit. We'll go after him too. Medical license revoked, criminal charges." Daniel leaned back. "Mr. Webb, if we prove everything we're looking at, 25 to 30 years minimum. Possibly more if we establish conspiracy to commit murder. Sofia Torres found evidence Brooks done this before. 3 prior victims. 1 passed away under suspicious circumstances." Daniel's expression hardened. "Pattern of behavior. Repeat offender. That increases sentencing significantly. We might be looking at life without parole. What do I need to do?" "First, we file an emergency guardianship petition. You're Sarah's husband. You have legal standing to challenge Tyler's guardianship. We argue it was obtained through fraud. We request an immediate hearing." Daniel opened a legal template. Second, emergency asset freeze. Every dollar in Tyler's accounts, the house, everything. We freeze it before they can move money or sell property. I'll file today. We can have a freeze in place by tomorrow morning. How fast can we move? Emergency guardianship hearing. I know Judge Catherine Reynolds. She handles elder abuse cases. If I call in a favor, we can get a hearing within 72 hours. but we need overwhelming evidence. Video, audio, medical documentation, witness testimony. I have surveillance being installed right now. 12 cameras, directional microphones, 72 hours of recording. System should be online within the hour. Daniel nodded approvingly. Good. Document everything. Every time they lock her in. Every time they hit her. Every conversation about money. We need systematic abuse, not isolated incidents. What about the police? Not yet. If we bring them in now, Tyler and Brooke might panic. They might hurt Sarah or run. Better to gather evidence first, then coordinate when we're ready. I have contacts at San Diego PD Elder Abuse Unit. When the time comes, I'll make the call. Daniel pulled out a retainer agreement. My rate is $500 an hour. Given the complexity, I estimate 60 to 80 hours over the next week, approximately $40,000. I require a $10,000 retainer to begin. I pulled out an envelope with $20,000 in cash. 20. I want priority treatment and immediate action on the asset freeze and guardianship petition. Daniel took the envelope, had me sign the agreement, then stood and extended his hand. Mr. Webb, I've been doing this 25 years. I've seen predators' families destroyed, but I've never seen someone come back from the grave to save their wife. We're going to win this. Tyler and Brooke Morrison will spend the rest of their lives in prison. Brooke Morrison isn't her real name. Sophia Torres is investigating. Real name might be Brianna Caldwell. History of identity fraud, prior victims in San Francisco, Portland, Seattle. Daniel's eyes lit up. Multiple jurisdictions, even better. We can coordinate with other prosecutors, build a federal case if necessary. She might be looking at federal charges. How soon can you file the paperwork? Asset freeze tonight. I'll have it on Judge Reynolds' desk by 8 a.m. tomorrow. Emergency guardianship petition tomorrow afternoon. We should have a hearing by Thursday or Friday. That gives them 2 to 3 more days with Sarah. I understand that's difficult, but rushing could blow the entire case. We do this right, we put them away forever. We do it wrong, they walk. I stood. Do it right, but do it fast. Daniel walked me to the door. One more thing. When this goes to court, you'll testify. So will Sarah. Are you prepared for that? For her to relive everything, I thought about Sarah locked in that basement. Alone. Scared. Probably thinking no one was coming. She's stronger than they think, and she won't be alone. I'll be right there with her. Daniel Foster would handle the legal war. He'd file the motions, freeze the assets, get us in front of a judge. But first I needed to know exactly who Brooke Morrison really was. And I had a feeling Sophia was about to tell me that. At 7 p.m., my phone rang. Sophia Torres. Mr. Webb, you need to sit down for this. Brooke Morrison doesn't exist, but Brianna Caldwell does, and you need to hear her story. I was back at the Marriott laptop open watching the surveillance feeds Ray had installed. The cameras had gone live 2 hours ago. I'd been watching Sarah move through the house like a ghost, cleaning, serving, disappearing into the basement, when Brooke snapped her fingers. I'm sitting. Tell me everything. Brianna Marie Caldwell, born April 7, 1995 in Reno, Nevada. Grew up in foster care from age 8, aged out of the system at 18. I could hear Sophia typing. First arrest at 20, identity fraud. She'd stolen a social security number from an elderly woman while working as a home health aide. $50,000 in fraudulent credit card debt. Got probation. Targeting vulnerable people even then. Second arrest at 21. Forgery. Forged checks from an elderly man's account, another home health client. 6 months in county jail, released early. Sophia paused. Third arrest at 23. Elder exploitation. She'd befriended a 72-year-old widower in Sacramento through his adult daughter. Got power of attorney, drained $200,000 before they caught on. But charges were dropped when the victim had a stroke and couldn't testify. She's done this before. Exactly this. She has. After those charges dropped, Brianna Caldwell disappeared. Until 2 years ago, when Brooke Morrison appeared with a brand new identity. Sophia sent me an email, 3 case files. I found 3 victims between then and now. All the same pattern. The first file opened. Margaret Anderson, San Francisco, 2019. Margaret Anderson, 68, widow, 1 son David. David met a woman named Melissa Hart at a bar in the Marina District. Beautiful, charming. 3 months later, she was pregnant. My stomach tightened. David married her quickly. Melissa moved into Margaret's Pacific Heights house. Within 6 months, Margaret showed signs of dementia. Melissa convinced David his mother needed full-time care. Fake diagnosis, guardianship. $800,000 disappeared. Then Margaret fell down the stairs. Broken neck. Ruled accidental. And Melissa, gone. Disappeared 2 days after the funeral. Second file, Victoria Lang, Portland, 2021. Victoria Lang, 71, widow. Daughter Rachel met a woman named Christine Wade at a yoga studio. Same pattern, friendship, pregnancy, marriage. They got Victoria for $1.2 million plus her $900,000 house. How atidin, fake Alzheimer's diagnosis. Victoria was placed in a memory care facility against her will. House sold, money transferred. Christine vanished. Victoria still alive. State-run facility in Portland. Lost everything. Third file, Evelyn Ross, Seattle, 2022. Evelyn Ross, 73. Son Nathan met a woman named Jennifer Blake at a grief support group. She claimed she'd lost her husband. You see how calculated this is? I did. She hunted where vulnerable people gathered. Married in 4 months, pregnant, moved into Evelyn's Queen Anne home. $950,000 gone. When Evelyn tried to report fraud, Jennifer convinced Nathan his mother was having paranoid delusions. Evelyn was involuntarily committed for psychiatric evaluation. 3 weeks later, Jennifer was gone. 3 families. 3 women destroyed or nearly destroyed. Sarah was number 4. The descriptions all match. I cross-referenced DMV photos, social media. Different hair, different styles. Facial recognition confirms it. Same woman, Brianna Caldwell. Sophia sent comparison photos. Melissa Hart, Christine Wade, Jennifer Blake, Brooke Morrison, all the same face. Total damages, $4.5 million confirmed. He stood near the outdoor kitchen, wearing a suit I'd never seen before. His hair was styled differently, slicked back instead of his usual messy waves. He looked older somehow. Not just older, harder. And beside him, pressed against his side like she owned him, was Brooke. Brooke Morrison, 29 years old. Tyler's wife of 18 months. Mother of my granddaughter Emma. I'd never liked her, not from the first time Tyler brought her home during one of my brief leaves between contracts. There was something about her smile, too, practiced, too perfect. Like she'd rehearsed it in a mirror until every angle was optimized for maximum trust. Sarah had noticed it, too. There's something off about that girl, she'd whispered to me one night. I can't put my finger on it. But Marcus, watch her. Please. I'd promised I would. Then I'd left for this 6-month contract and forgot that promise in the desert heat. Plus your case, $32 million if she succeeds. She's escalating, going for bigger scores. Why hasn't she been caught? She's smart, never uses the same name twice. Never stays long enough for patterns to emerge. Victims don't know about each other. She picks fractured families who won't be believed. I stared at the photos. This woman had slept in my house, held my granddaughter. Can you contact the other families? I already have. David Anderson will testify. So will Rachel Lang. Nathan Ross is complicated, still processing guilt, but his mother Evelyn wants justice. She'll testify. Send me their contact information. I'll send everything. Mr. Webb, there's one more thing. Brianna Caldwell has a partner. That stopped me cold. What? In the Sacramento case, there was another person involved. A man named Eric Vance, small-time con artist. He'd pose as professionals, doctors, lawyers, financial advisors to make scams believable. You think he's involved now? I think Dr. James Patterson might not be a real doctor. Or Eric Vance is using his credentials. The signature on your death certificate and Sarah's diagnosis doesn't match Dr. Patterson's signature in medical databases. So it wasn't just Brooke. Someone was helping her forge documents, create fake diagnoses, build the infrastructure of fraud. Find him. Find Eric Vance. Find out if Patterson is real or if Vance is using his identity. I'm on it. Full report by tomorrow morning. After Sophia hung up, I sat in the dark hotel room staring at the surveillance feeds. Brooke Morrison, Brianna Caldwell, Melissa Hart, Christine Wade, Jennifer Blake. A professional predator with 3 victims behind her. At least one body. Maybe more. My family was just her latest target. Tyler was just another mark. Sarah was just another obstacle to eliminate once the money was secured. But she'd made one critical mistake. She'd chosen the wrong target. Marcus Webb wasn't some grieving widower, wasn't some vulnerable mark. I was a Marine with 20 years of combat experience. A contractor who'd spent 8 years in the world's most dangerous places. I knew how to plan operations. I knew how to gather intelligence. I knew how to strike with precision. And now I knew exactly who my enemy was. Brianna Caldwell thought she was hunting my family. She had no idea I was hunting her. At 9 p.m., I returned to the neighborhood. Ray's cameras were online. I watched the live feeds from my laptop in the rental car parked 3 blocks away. Tyler and Brooke were in the living room. But where was Sarah? I clicked through the feeds systematically. Kitchen empty. Dining room empty. Guest bedrooms empty. Master bedroom Tyler and Brooke's territory. Now I couldn't look at it without my jaw clenching, but Sarah wasn't anywhere on the main floor. I remembered the basement, the wine cellar I'd built 2 years ago when we first bought the house. Temperature-controlled, soundproofed to preserve the collection. 55 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Perfect for wine. Perfect for hiding someone. I clicked to the basement feed. The fiber optic camera Ray had dropped through the ventilation duct gave me a grainy but clear view of the space. And there she was. Sarah sat on a thin mattress on the concrete floor. No blanket, no pillow. The wine cellar was maybe 10 feet by 12 feet. Concrete walls. A single bare bulb overhead currently off. The only light came from a small gap under the door. She wore the same black and white uniform from the party 2 nights ago. No coat despite the temperature. I could see her breath in the cold air. In the corner sat a bucket. That was her bathroom, my wife. The woman I'd married on a beach in Coronado. The woman who'd left me notes in my gear saying, "Come home safe." The woman who painted sunrises and laughed at my terrible jokes. Locked in a wine cellar like a prisoner. I watched her for 20 minutes. She didn't move much. Just sat there, arms wrapped around herself, rocking slightly. Whether from cold or trauma, I couldn't tell. Probably both. At 9:30, I heard footsteps on the basement stairs through the audio feed. The door opened. Brooke stood there backlit by the hallway light. "Did you think about what I said?" Brooke's voice was cold, conversational. like she was discussing the weather. Sarah didn't respond. About how easy it would be to make this all go away. You sign the papers, transfer everything to Tyler, and you can go. We'll put you in a nice facility somewhere. You'll have your own room, 3 meals a day. Better than this. I won't sign anything. Sarah's voice was hoarse but steady, stronger than I'd expected after 6 months of this. Brooke sighed dramatically. Then you'll stay here. And when the house sells next month, well, accidents happen during moves, don't they? A 42-year-old woman with severe cognitive decline, confused, disoriented, she could wander off anywhere. Sometimes they don't come back. She was threatening to kill my wife, openly, because she thought no one was listening. Tyler won't let you. Sarah's voice wavered now. Brooke laughed. Tyler will do whatever I tell him to do. He always does. He's weak just like his father was. Just like all men are when you know how to handle them. She stepped into the wine cellar. I watched her walk closer to Sarah on the screen. You have 48 hours to decide. Sign the papers or face the consequences. And Sarah, don't test me. You've seen what I'm capable of. Brooke walked out, slammed the door. I heard the electronic lock beep as she entered the code. 4-digit code. I watched her fingers on the keypad through the hallway camera. 7, 3, 8, 2. I'd need that later. Sarah sat in the darkness for a long time. Then she started crying. Quiet sobs that she tried to muffle with her hand, probably afraid Brooke would hear and come back. I wanted to drive there right now. Punch in that code. Carry her out. End this tonight. But that would be emotional, not tactical. That would give Brooke time to run, time to hide money, time to destroy evidence. I needed 2 days of documentation, video of the abuse, audio of the threats, a case so overwhelming that no lawyer could defend them, no jury could acquit them. 2 days. Sarah had survived 6 months. She could survive 2 more days. I had to believe that. At 10 p.m., Brooke came back down, this time with a plate. Dinner, she said, sliding it through a slot in the door I hadn't noticed before. Tyler must have installed it. I zoomed the camera in. Scraps, literally scraps from their dinner. Cold pasta, a piece of bread that looked stale. Maybe half a cup of water in a plastic cup. Sarah took the plate without a word. Oh, and Sarah. Brooke's voice was honey-sweet now. Tyler and I are taking Emma to the park tomorrow. You'll need to deep clean the house while we're gone. Every room, I want it spotless. If it's not perfect when we get back, you don't eat tomorrow night. Understood? Yes. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Yes, what? Yes, Mrs. Morrison. Brooke smiled. I could see it through the crack in the door. A smile of pure satisfaction, pure control. Good girl. See, we can get along if you just follow the rules. The door closed. Lock beeped. Sarah sat there for a long time, staring at the plate. Then she ate slowly, mechanically. Survival eating. Keeping herself alive because giving up would mean dying. At 11 p.m., the lights went out upstairs. Tyler and Brooke went to bed. Sarah's feed showed her lying on the thin mattress, still in her uniform, shivering in the 55-degree air. I sat in my rental car, watching the screens, documenting everything with timestamps and recordings. The wine cellar I'd built to store expensive bottles of Bordeaux was now a prison cell. The house I'd bought for my wife's happiness was now her torture chamber. The son I'd raised was complicit in her suffering. But not for much longer. I'd found where they kept her. Tomorrow I'd document everything, every moment of abuse, every word of their conversations, every second of Sarah's imprisonment. And then I'd destroy them, all of it. By the time I was done, Brianna Caldwell would spend the rest of her life in prison. Tyler would face the consequences of his choices. Dr. James Patterson or Eric Vance or whoever he really was would lose everything, and Sarah would be free. I just needed 2 more days. 2 days to build an unbreakable case. 2 days to gather overwhelming evidence. Then justice would come. Absolute and final. Now Brooke stood in my backyard, wearing a dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, playing hostess like she owned the place. She laughed at something a guest said, touched their arm with practiced familiarity, gestured toward the house with a proprietary wave. My house. My home. Where was Sarah? I scanned the crowd again more carefully this time. 43 people total. I counted automatically, another habit from decades of security work. All dressed expensively, all comfortable, all acting like they belonged here. None of them were Sarah. My wife, 42 years old, former art teacher, the woman I'd married 2 years ago after spending a year as a widower following my first wife Lisa's passing. Sarah with her quiet laugh and her paint-stained fingers and her habit of leaving little notes in my gear before every deployment over the past 2 years. Come home safe. I love you. Always. Day 1 of surveillance began at 6 a.m. I watched as Brooke unlocked the wine cellar and ordered Sarah upstairs. You have 30 minutes to shower and eat. Then you start breakfast for us. I was still in the rental car, parked in a different spot now, 2 blocks east, instead of 3 blocks west. Operational security meant never staying in the same location twice. The laptop was balanced on my steering wheel, all 12 camera feeds displayed in a grid. Sarah emerged from the basement, slowly climbing the stairs, like each step caused pain. Her right knee, the old injury, was worse now. 6 months of sleeping on concrete, 6 months of forced labor had destroyed whatever stability that knee once had. She limped to the guest bathroom. I watched her shower through the hallway camera, not the bathroom itself. Ray had respected that boundary, but I could see her enter, hear the water run. 30 minutes. Brooke had said 30 minutes. Sarah was out in 12. She went to the kitchen, found a piece of bread in the back of the pantry, hidden there probably from previous days when Brooke had denied her food. She ate it standing over the sink, fast, furtive, like an animal afraid someone would take it away. Then she started breakfast. 6:30 a.m. Tyler's alarm went off upstairs. I heard it through the bedroom audio feed. Brooke's voice, sleepy and sweet. Baby, go back to sleep. Sarah's making breakfast. You don't have to wake up yet. Tyler grunted something and rolled over. 7 a.m. Sarah had prepared a full breakfast spread. Scrambled eggs, bacon toast, fresh fruit coffee. The kind of breakfast I remembered from our first year of marriage when she'd wake up early on weekends and surprise me. Now she made it under duress. Tyler came downstairs at 7:15, Emma on his hip. 10 months old now, my granddaughter. Blonde hair like Brooke's, but Lisa's eyes. My first wife's eyes looking out at the world from the next generation. Tyler put Emma in her high chair without acknowledging Sarah. Good morning, Tyler, Sarah said quietly. He didn't respond, just sat down, started eating. Sarah stood by the counter, waiting. Not sitting, not eating, waiting for permission that wouldn't come. Is the coffee fresh? Tyler asked, not looking at her. Yes, made 5 minutes ago. Bring me a cup. Sarah poured coffee, brought it to him. Her hand shook slightly. Whether from cold exhaustion or fear, I couldn't tell. Brooke came down at 7:30 wearing a silk robe that probably cost $500. Sarah's robe, I realized, from our closet. Good morning, family. Brooke's voice was bright, cheerful. She kissed Tyler, kissed Emma's head, then looked at Sarah. Did you make enough for everyone? Yes, Mrs. Morrison. Then why are you just standing there? Serve breakfast. Sarah loaded a plate for Brooke. Eggs, bacon, fruit toast. Set it down gently. Brooke took one bite of the eggs, frowned. These are too salty. I'm sorry, I can make. Brooke picked up the plate and threw it on the floor. Ceramic shattered across the tile. Eggs and bacon splattered against the cabinet. I said they're too salty. Are you trying to poison me? Is that what this is? Tyler flinched but said nothing. Just kept eating his own breakfast, eyes down. No, Mrs. Morrison, I would never. Clean it up. Now. On your hands and knees. And you're not eating breakfast today. Maybe hunger will teach you to cook properly. Sarah got down on her hands and knees. Her bad knee buckled slightly as she knelt, and I saw her wince. She started picking up ceramic pieces with her bare hands, still bandaged from the party 2 nights ago. I was recording everything, every word, every action, time-stamped and backed up to cloud storage. 8 a.m., breakfast cleanup complete. Brooke took Emma to the living room to play. Tyler went upstairs to his office, my office, for a video call about something work-related. Sarah started the daily cleaning routine. I watched her work for the next 6 hours. Kitchen deep clean, vacuuming every room, scrubbing bathrooms, changing sheets, laundry, every movement careful, methodical, exhausted. At noon, Brooke called her to the living room. Emma needs lunch. You can feed her. This was the only time Sarah was allowed to touch her granddaughter. I watched through the living room camera as Sarah prepared a small bowl of mashed food, something organic and expensive that Brooke had probably bought with my insurance money. Sarah sat next to Emma's high chair, feeding her slowly, gently. And for just a moment, Sarah smiled. A real smile. Small, but real. Emma reached out and touched Sarah's face. Gaga, the baby said. Her attempt at grandma. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. That's enough. Brooke's voice cut through the moment like a knife. Take her bowl to the kitchen, then start on the windows. I want every window in this house spotless. Sarah stood, took the bowl, went back to work. 2 p.m., windows complete. Sarah moved to dusting, mopping, organizing. 6 p.m. Tyler and Brooke had dinner in the dining room. Steak, roasted vegetables, wine. Sarah had cooked it all. She stood in the kitchen doorway waiting. You can have the leftovers when we're done, Brooke said without looking at her. If there are any. They ate slowly, deliberately. I watched Tyler cut his steak into smaller and smaller pieces, eating each one with exaggerated care. Making it last, making Sarah wait. When they finished, there were scraps, a few bites of steak, some vegetables, a piece of bread. Sarah ate standing over the sink again. Fast, furtive, 8 p.m., kitchen cleanup complete, house spotless. Sarah had worked for 14 hours straight with one meal of scraps. Brooke appeared in the kitchen doorway. Time for bed, Sarah. You know where to go. Sarah walked to the basement door, opened it, descended the stairs. Brooke followed, locked the wine cellar door from outside, punched in the code. 7, 3, 8, 2. Through the wine cellar camera, I watched Sarah lie down on the thin mattress, still in her uniform, and curl into a ball. 14 hours of forced labor. 2 meals of leftovers, one denied entirely. 0 dignity. 0 humanity. And I had it all on video. Every second. Every word. Every moment of systematic abuse. The cameras were recording everything. By the end of 2 days, I'd have documentation so overwhelming that no lawyer could spin it, no jury could ignore it. Tomorrow would be day 2. More documentation, more evidence, more proof of exactly what Brooke Morrison, Brianna Caldwell was capable of. And then I'd bury them. All of them. Day 1, 8 p.m. I thought the worst was over. Then I watched Brooke descend into the basement with a tray of food. What I saw next made my blood run cold. Sarah was sitting on the mattress, shivering in the 55-degree air. She looked up when the door opened, and I saw hope in her expression. Like maybe this time Brooke would show a shred of humanity. She was wrong. "Here's your dinner," Brooke said, holding the tray. "Scraps again. You should be grateful. Most people in your condition wouldn't get anything at all." "Thank you, Mrs. Morrison." Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Brooke set the tray down, but didn't leave. She stood there, arms crossed, contempt in her expression. "You were slow today. The windows had streaks. The bathroom wasn't clean enough. And that breakfast unacceptable. I'm sorry. I'll do better tomorrow." "Sorry isn't good enough." Brooke stepped closer. "You know what happens when you don't follow the rules, don't you?" Sarah nodded, shrinking back against the wall. "Say it." I don't get to see Emma." "That's right. And you'll remember that every moment you have with her is a privilege I give you. A privilege I can take away." The way Brooke said it, weaponizing Emma, Sarah's granddaughter, was calculated. Sarah's hands trembled. "Please, I'll work faster. I'll do anything. Just don't take Emma away from me." Brooke smiled, a predator's smile. "Then maybe you should sign those papers. Transfer everything to Tyler. Make this easy." "I can't sign away Marcus's legacy. I can't." The slap came so fast I almost missed it. Brooke's hand connected with Sarah's face hard enough to snap her head sideways. Sarah cried out, fell against the concrete wall, hand pressed to her cheek. Through the camera, I watched the red mark bloom across Sarah's skin. "You can't." Brooke's voice was ice. "Let me tell you what you can't do, Sarah. You can't leave this room. You can't call for help. You can't do anything except what I tell you. Because I own you now, understand?" Sarah nodded, holding her face. I said, "Do you understand?" "Yes. Yes, Mrs. Morrison." But Brooke wasn't done. She grabbed Sarah by the arm right where the old bruises were and hauled her to her feet. Sarah cried out as Brooke's fingers dug into existing injuries. "You think this is hard?" Brooke shoved Sarah backward. Sarah stumbled, her bad knee gave out, and she fell hard onto the concrete. "You have no idea what hard is. I've done this before, Sarah. 3 times before. And the ones who fought me, they didn't end well." Sarah was on her hands and knees trying to get up. Brooke walked over and kicked her in the ribs. Not hard enough to break anything too smart for that, but hard enough to hurt. Sarah collapsed, gasping. "Margaret Anderson in San Francisco. She fought me. Fell down the stairs." Where was she? Through the French doors, I could see into the living room. More guests inside. The furniture was different. Our old leather sofa, the one Sarah and I had picked out together in Carlsbad, was gone, replaced by some modern monstrosity in white leather. My stomach tightened. A burst of laughter erupted from the backyard. Tyler raised his champagne glass, and the crowd fell silent. "Thank you all for coming tonight," he called out. "Brooke and I are so grateful to have friends and family here to celebrate this new chapter in our lives." New chapter. "As many of you know," Tyler continued, "the last few months have been difficult. Losing Dad was—" He paused, jaw tightening. "It was devastating. But Brooke and I are committed to honoring his memory by living the life he would have wanted for us, in this beautiful home, with all of you." The crowd murmured sympathetically. "Wait. Losing Dad." The words hit me like a physical blow. Terrible accident. Victoria Lang in Portland went to a facility and lost her mind for real. Evelyn Ross in Seattle tried to report me. Nobody believed her. Brooke crouched next to Sarah, grabbed her face, forced her to look up. You're going to end up just like them unless you wise up. Sign the papers or you'll never see daylight again. And Emma, she'll grow up thinking her grandmother was crazy. She let go, stood brushed off her hands. You have 48 hours. Brooke walked out. The door slammed. The lock beeped. Sarah lay on the cold floor, curled in a ball, crying silently. I could see her shoulders shaking, the red mark on her face darkening into a bruise, the way she held her ribs. I zoomed the camera in, documenting every injury, the handprint on her face, the bruises on her arm, old purple marks overlaid with new red ones, the way she protected her ribs, the blood on her lip where the slap had split skin. Every injury documented, time-stamped, saved to cloud storage with military-grade encryption. I sat in the rental car, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles were white. 28 years of training kept me in that seat. Because if I went there now, if I acted on emotion, Brooke would run. She'd destroy evidence, and she might walk free. No. I needed 2 days of documentation. I needed proof of conspiracy. I needed Tyler's involvement captured. I needed to hear them discuss their plans. After 30 minutes, Sarah finally moved. She crawled to the mattress, pulled herself onto it, and lay there staring at the ceiling. The tray of food sat untouched. She didn't eat. Either the pain was too much, or she'd given up for the night. I documented it all. The assault, the threats, the admission about previous victims, the injuries, the emotional abuse. I had evidence of physical abuse on camera now. Assault, battery, visible injuries. But I needed more. I needed to understand why Tyler was letting this happen. I needed to hear them say it out loud. Tomorrow was day 2. More surveillance, more documentation. Then I'd move, and when I did, it would be with overwhelming force. Brooke Morrison, Brianna Caldwell had spent years perfecting her system, getting away with abuse, disappearing before anyone could stop her. But she'd never faced someone like me, and her time was running out. Day 2, 6 p.m. Tyler and Brooke sat in my former office, surrounded by paperwork. I turned up the audio feed. What I heard confirmed everything. $22 million from the insurance, $14 million from the house sale. We're almost there, baby. Brooke's voice was excited, almost giddy. I watched through the office camera as she spread documents across my desk like she was playing with Monopoly money. Tyler sat in the chair, Emma asleep on his shoulder. He looked tired. More than tired. Haunted. What about Sarah? His voice was quiet. We can't keep her locked up forever. We won't have to. Brooke didn't even look up from the papers. Once the house sells, we take the money and disappear. Problem solved. What do you mean, problem solved? Brooke finally looked at him. Don't be naive, Tyler. She knows too much. She'll go to the police the second we let her go. You're not saying... Tyler's voice dropped. Brooke, you can't be serious. I'm saying we do what we have to do. This isn't my first time, remember. There it was. On audio. Clear as day. Admission of previous crimes. Intent to harm Sarah. All time-stamped and recorded. Tyler stood up carefully so he wouldn't wake Emma. He walked to the window, stared out at the ocean view I'd paid for. I didn't sign up for this. You said we'd just get the insurance money, get guardianship, and then she'd agree to go into a facility. You said it would be clean. Brooke laughed. Actually laughed. Tyler, baby, when has anything about this been clean? You filed a fake death certificate. You claimed $22 million. You signed guardianship papers declaring Sarah mentally incompetent. You're in this just as deep as I am. You forged those papers. You got that Dr. Patterson signed what I told him to sign, and you benefited from every signature. So don't stand there acting innocent. You wanted the money just as much as I did. Tyler turned around. I wanted to pay off my student loans. I wanted to give Emma a good life. I didn't want this. He gestured toward the basement. This is what it takes. Brooke stood up, walked over to him. Her voice softened, became almost tender. Baby, I know this is hard, but we're so close. The house closes escrow in 3 weeks. 3 weeks and we'll have $36 million. We can go anywhere. Start over completely. And Sarah will be taken care of. Brooke touched his face. You don't have to do anything. I'll handle it. Just like I handled everything else. You just keep your mouth shut and trust me. Tyler pulled away from her touch. I trusted you when you said you'd never done this before. Then last week you told me about Sacramento, about Robert Martinez, about how I survived. Brooke cut him off. I did what I had to do. Just like Margaret, just like Victoria, just like Evelyn, just like Sarah will be. She just named all 5 victims, on audio, with context. Tyler looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. How many people have you hurt? I haven't hurt anyone who didn't force my hand. Brooke's voice turned cold. Margaret fought me so she had an accident. Victoria threatened to call police so she ended up in a facility. Evelyn actually did call police, but I'd made sure no one would believe her. Sarah's fighting me too, so she'll face the same consequences. This is insane. I can't be part of this anymore. Brooke's expression changed instantly. The tenderness vanished, replaced by something harder, dangerous. You can't be part of this, Tyler. You are part of this. Your signature is on every document. Your name is on the insurance claim. If I go down, you go down. If Sarah goes to police, we both go to prison for 25 to 30 years. She stepped closer, lowered her voice. But if you stay with me, if you keep your mouth shut for 3 more weeks, we walk away with $36 million and a beautiful daughter. We disappear. New identities. New country if we want. No one will ever find us. Tyler was silent for a long moment. I could see the war on his face. Fear, guilt, greed, desperation. What about Emma? I can't take her away from everything she knows. Her family is us. You and me, that's it. Your father is gone. Sarah will be gone. We're all she'll have. And with $36 million, we can give her the best life imaginable. Emma stirred on Tyler's shoulder, made a small sound. He rubbed her back absently. 3 weeks, he finally said. Then we're done. 3 weeks. Brooke agreed, but I could hear the lie in her voice. She wasn't planning to keep Tyler around either. Once she had the money, once Sarah was gone, Tyler was just another loose end. Brooke returned to the desk, started organizing papers. The realtor called today. We have a potential buyer. Tech executive from San Jose, cash offer. Wants to close quickly. This could happen sooner than 3 weeks. How soon? 10 days maybe. 2 weeks tops. My blood ran cold. 10 days. That changed everything. What about Sarah until then? She stays where she is. We keep her weak, keep her scared. If she signs the transfer papers, great. If not, the problem solves itself after closing. Tyler nodded slowly, but I could see it, the doubt in his eyes, the guilt in his posture. He was in too deep, but he was drowning. Not a willing participant anymore, if he ever was. A victim of Brooke's manipulation, trapped by his own bad choices. I sat in the rental car, processing what I'd just heard. $22 million. $14 million from the house. That's what they'd put on my wife's life. That's the price of her existence to them. But I'd heard something else too. Tyler was scared. He was trapped. He'd been manipulated into this, blackmailed into staying. He'd signed documents, yes, but under Brooke's influence. And now he was realizing the full scope of what he'd gotten into. Maybe I could use that. If Tyler flipped, if he testified against Brooke, I'd have everything. An inside witness. Someone who could detail the entire conspiracy. Someone who could confirm Brooke's pattern with previous victims. But that required getting to Tyler before Brooke realized the walls were closing in, before she ran, before she hurt Sarah. I had maybe 10 days, maybe less. The surveillance had given me what I needed: physical abuse on video, threats on audio, conspiracy to harm Sarah captured in their own words. Admission of 5 victims: Robert Martinez in Sacramento, Margaret Anderson, Victoria Lang, Evelyn Ross, and now Sarah. Financial motive clearly established. It was time to move. Tomorrow I'd contact Detective Rachel Morrison at San Diego PD. I actually stepped backward, nearly stumbling. Losing Dad. Past tense. As in gone. As in no longer here. But I wasn't gone. I was standing right here, 50 yards away, very much alive and increasingly furious. Brooke took Tyler's hand, squeezed it with theatrical tenderness, then raised her own glass. "To new beginnings," she said, voice honey-sweet. "And to the future we're building together." "To new beginnings," the crowd echoed. They drank, they smiled, they celebrated. And somewhere inside that house was my wife, Sarah, who apparently wasn't at this party, who wasn't standing beside Tyler, who wasn't anywhere I could see. In my 8 years of contracting work, I'd never gone completely dark like this. Usually there were satellite calls every few weeks, encrypted emails, some way to check in. But this last contract had been different. 6 months of absolute silence. And in those 6 months, my entire life had been turned upside down. I'd bring in Daniel Foster with the legal framework, Sophia Torres with the background investigation. We'd coordinate the takedown, and then I'd get my wife back. I replayed that conversation dozens of times. Tyler's voice, the fear, the hesitation. I didn't sign up for this. The words hung in my mind like a verdict I'd been refusing to accept. My son wasn't a monster. He was a victim. For 6 months, I'd watched the surveillance feeds, documented the abuse, cataloged every crime. I'd seen Tyler stand silent while Brooke degraded Sarah. I'd heard him give orders, cold, distant commands that turned my wife into a servant. I'd wanted to believe he was complicit, that he'd chosen this path willingly. But that conversation in my old office had shattered that illusion. Tyler hadn't chosen Brooke Morrison. Brooke Morrison, Brianna Caldwell, had chosen him. The grief she weaponized? Lisa's death 8 years ago had broken something fundamental in Tyler. He'd been 18, a kid who just lost his anchor. I'd been drowning in my own grief, barely functional, working overseas contracts to escape the house that still smelled like her perfume. I'd left Tyler alone when he needed me most. Brooke had found that wound and opened it wider. I pulled up Sophia Torres's background report on my laptop, cross-referencing the timeline. Tyler had met Brooke 2 years after Lisa's death at a grief support group in Del Mar. The same MO she'd used with David Anderson in San Francisco: find the vulnerable, offer comfort, become indispensable. She'd listened to Tyler talk about his mother. She'd cried with him. She'd told him she understood loss because her own mother had died young. A lie. Sophia had confirmed Brianna Caldwell's mother was alive and well in Reno, working at a casino, and wondering why her daughter never called. Brooke had studied Tyler like a textbook. She'd learned his triggers, his fears, his desperate need for someone to fill the void Lisa had left. And then she'd positioned herself as that person. The debts she created. But grief alone wasn't enough. Brooke needed leverage. I'd found the credit card statements during my break-in, $47,000 in debt accumulated over 18 months. Medical bills for Emma's premature birth, hospital stays, specialists. The numbers had seemed impossible until I'd checked Emma's actual medical records through my insurance portal. The baby had been healthy, full term, no complications. The bills were fabricated. Brooke had created a financial crisis that didn't exist, then positioned herself as the solution. Don't worry, baby. Once your dad's life insurance comes through, we'll pay everything off. We'll be free. She'd manufactured the problem and sold herself as the answer. And Tyler, exhausted, grieving, desperate, had believed her. The baby as collateral Emma was the final piece, the ultimate insurance policy. I'd heard Brooke threaten Sarah with her on the surveillance feeds. You'll never see your granddaughter again. But Emma wasn't just a threat against Sarah. She was a leash on Tyler. Every time my son hesitated, every time doubt crept into his voice, Brooke reminded him what he stood to lose. Do you want to go to prison? Who will raise Emma, then foster care? She'd made him complicit, then used that complicity as blackmail. The forged death certificate bore his signature. The guardianship papers listed him as Sarah's appointed protector. The insurance claim had his name on the beneficiary line. Tyler hadn't masterminded this scheme. He'd been maneuvered into it step by step until escape seemed impossible. The pattern I'd missed. Sophia's report showed Brooke had used variations of this same playbook across 5 cities. Margaret Anderson's son David had also been a grieving widower. His wife had died in a car accident 6 months before Brooke entered his life. Victoria Lang's daughter Rachel had been drowning in medical school debt when Brooke offered to help. Nathan Ross had been supporting his mother alone after his father's death. Brooke identified isolated targets. She created dependency. She manufactured crises. And then she harvested the wreckage. Tyler fit the profile perfectly. Young, vulnerable, wealthy father, recent trauma, no strong support network. She'd seen him coming from a mile away. The question that haunted me. If Tyler was a victim, why hadn't he stopped her? I kept returning to that moment on the surveillance feed when Brooke slapped Sarah and Tyler had stood in the hallway frozen. He'd heard the impact. He'd heard Sarah's gasp of pain. And he'd walked away. That wasn't the action of a man in control. That was the action of someone who'd given up. Brooke had isolated him systematically. His old friends had stopped calling after she'd manufactured drama at social events. His job, a steady position at a tech firm in Carlsbad, had ended 6 months ago when Brooke convinced him they didn't need the income anymore. His entire world had contracted to this house, this woman, and this terrible secret they shared. Tyler was trapped in a prison as real as Sarah's wine cellar. The bars were invisible, but they were just as strong. The decision. I closed the laptop and stared out the rental car window at my $10 million prison. Somewhere inside, my son was convincing himself that morning that murder was inevitable, that there was no other way. But there was another way. I could reach him. I could show him the evidence I'd gathered, the proof that Brooke had done this before, that she'd planned to disappear and leave him holding the bag for Sarah's death. I could offer him a path out, cooperation, testimony, protection. Daniel Foster had already laid the legal groundwork. If Tyler flips, we can argue coercion, diminished capacity. He's not the architect of this scheme, he's another victim. The DA will want Brooke. Tyler becomes the key witness. It was risky. Tyler might warn Brooke. He might choose her over the truth. But I'd listened to his voice on that audio feed, the fear, the doubt, the quiet desperation. That wasn't the voice of a man committed to murder. That was the voice of someone looking for an exit he couldn't see. My son wasn't a monster. He was a victim of manipulation and isolation. There was still time. I could still reach him, and I was going to try. Day 2, 11 p.m. I watched Tyler through the living room camera alone, elbows on knees, staring at the insurance documents on the coffee table. $22 million in paperwork. The price tag on his father's fake death. Upstairs, Brooke slept. The bedroom feed showed her breathing steady, one arm across Tyler's empty pillow. She'd been out for 20 minutes. This was my chance. I killed the laptop, grabbed my go bag, and approached the house from the south side. At 11:07 p.m., I reached the mudroom door I'd installed during the security upgrade, the side entrance only Sarah and I knew about. The spare key turned silent. I slipped inside. Upstairs, nothing. Living room paper rustling, wine cellar, Sarah 10 feet below, locked behind code 7382. Not tonight. Tonight was Tyler. I moved to the basement door and let my boot scrape deliberately against the frame. The sound carried. In the living room, Tyler's head snapped up. He stood moving toward the basement with careful steps. Someone who didn't want to wake Brooke. The door opened. Tyler descended slowly. Sarah. I waited at the bottom, just outside the wine cellar. When he reached the last step, I clicked on the tactical flashlight, aiming at his face. "Hello, Tyler." The shock. He stumbled backward, hand flying up. "Dad." The word strangled. He gripped the railing like it was keeping him alive. I lowered the beam. "Yeah, it's me." Tyler's mouth opened and closed. His eyes darted from my face to the wine cellar door behind me, processing, realizing. "You're dead," I finished. "That's what the certificate says. April 15th. Dr. James Patterson's signature." I paused. "Except I'm standing right here. Which makes that death certificate a forgery. Which makes the $22 million insurance claim fraud." His face drained white. "And this." I gestured to the wine cellar. "Keeping Sarah locked in a basement, starving her,